Hey everybody, welcome back to Gasp Paranormal. In our last segment we talked about the basic fundamentals of paranormal, what constitutes a haunting, and the types of haunting. This time we're going to get a little bit scientific. We are going to delve into the metaphysical world of the paranormal. What causes the paranormal, how are they crossed over, and why do they retain their identity? And some basic scientific analysis of the paranormal. In 1901, a gentleman by the name of Duncan McDougall performed a rather controversial experiment on 6 tuberculosis patients. These patients were near the end of their lifespan, and Mr. McDougall wanted to record the aspects of their final days here on Earth. As these patients passed on, all 6 of them, Dr. McDougall recognized sort of a correlation between these 6 patients. Controversial experiment, so to speak. These 6 patients, after they passed on, each have lost the exact same amount of weight, which happens to be 21 grams. Now, naysayers, other doctors, scientists in the community, they all debunk this as, well, when you die, you pass gas, you pass fluids. But my argument is, okay, what are the odds of 2 patients losing the exact same amount of weight, let alone 6 patients losing the exact same amount of weight? Is this a possibility of the actual evidence of the physical aspect of the soul? Does our soul have physical properties? Apparently, this is one of the hypotheses that has been reached. Once again, they each lost the exact same amount of weight, and they lost it at different intervals after their death. And so these souls that he's speculating, not only can we detect when they leave the body, but we can detect at different rates they leave the body. In other words, a person may leave his body or her body longer than the next person. On average, it takes a few seconds to a few minutes for your soul to leave the body. And these occur at different intervals. Now, I know a little bit something about this because I had an experience when I was 6 years old. I got hit by a car while I was riding my bike, and my head hit the curb of the street. Now, from here, I go by what my parents and my neighbors told me because I was unconscious at the time. They did not have a time to call an ambulance. They immediately rushed out and put me into the back of the blue station wagon on my neighbor's car and rushed me to the hospital. At the time they picked me off the street, I lost all my fluids, my bodily function. I went to the bathroom, so to speak, which is a sign of death that you're releasing. I don't remember being in the hospital. I only remember waking up at home in my bedroom with a splitting headache. I do remember seeing a gray field with a bridge in front of me and a stream. I walked to the beginning of the bridge, but I did not cross over. To me, that's a possible sign. If I crossed over, I might not have come back. But then, either rate, that is a characteristical trait. It's a physical trait. When someone passes, they let go of their functions, and that's what these tuberculosis patients did. Once again, they each lost the exact same amount of weight. So, an argument, is that a sign of a physical aspect of our soul? Now, on top of that subject, okay, when we pass on, why do we keep our identity? How do we keep our identity? In other words, you don't see a Civil War soldier in Utah in the mall going shopping, okay? He's usually found at one of the Civil War battlefields, okay, a place of familiarity. It is said that when the soul leaves the body, these spirits if and when they come back to places they've either been for here or places that they enjoy. FYI, I'm going to be haunting St. Augustine quite often. So, on top of that now, how do we identify ourselves in the past life? You know, Joe comes through and says hello. Someone's relative comes through and says hello. Well, how do they maintain their identity? Well, there's speculation that, and we're going to get a little scientific here, there's speculation within the fibers of your brain, there's something that's called microtubules. These microtubules embed what's called quantum data. Okay? Think of a VIN number on your car. The numbers and letters identify the car's make, model, year, color, even options. This quantum data is basically our life's work, our biological being from start to finish. How old we are, what color's our hair, what color are our eyes, okay? And the events we went through with our lifetime. You know, did we have fun? Did we get hurt? You know, did we encounter different things? So this data, quantum data, supposedly is stored within the microtubules of your brain. So it is hypothesized that when your soul leaves, it takes this quantum data with it. So when you cross over to the other side, or if you pass on, your soul has your biological property information stored within it. Thus, you are identifiable in the next life or the next afterlife as you were here on earth. Okay? Uncle Joe came down and said hi to me today. Well, how, you know, why is he Uncle Joe? You know, well, we have identifying markers that apparently leave with our souls to keep us identified in the afterlife. That being said, when we come back to visit, we come back to visit familiar places or people we know. Or we come back to places that we've worked before or lived before. That's why you may see Captain Rasmussen. He's always hanging around the St. Augustine Lighthouse. He's worked there before. He's familiar with the area. He is his own identifiable being, a sentient afterlife being, so to speak. So in this instance, we can communicate with an identified person from to the other life. So in other words, if you died, let's say you hear this saying, God, I just saw my life flash before me. Well, it's quite possible. And this is quite possibly the reason. Because you have quantum data stored, quantum information stored within the microtubules of your brain. If your life flashes and you are near death, or you're so scared that you think you're dead or you're going to die, your neural synapses of the brain is going to trigger and it's going to fire possibly what's in these microtubules, which will give you a so-called review of your life. And so that's quite possible. So it's very interesting, this realm of the paranormal, the metaphysical, the astrophysical aspects of it, the quantum physical aspects of it. I know it's a little bit techy, but once again, we're here to find the truth. And once again, in the paranormal, you don't always get a definitive answer, because that's why they call it the paranormal. We will find out soon enough on the other sides with their questions answered. But for the time being that we're alive here on this planet, we try to discover and find information and get to the truth. That's what we're all about. So this video was a little bit on the scientific side. I know some of it seems far-fetched. I apologize if it's a little too scientific-y, if that's a word. We can make it a word. So I hope this information was helpful and maybe help you understand the possible science behind the paranormal. And I hope you enjoyed this video. If you saw this on YouTube, you can go to our website, www.gaspphq.com. paranormal.com. If you're on our website, feel free to browse through our evidence section. We have EVPs, photos, and videos. Of course, these are authentic. Nothing's Photoshop, nothing's fake. Everything's true and authentic on our webpage. So feel free to browse through that. If you have any questions, if you need help with anything, if you find that you need us to come out and investigate your home or residence, feel free to contact us on our contacts page, and we will get back to you as soon as we can. Until then, have a nice day and safe journeys.